Jana, thanks. Springfield police this morning arrested 22-year-old Louis Olmo at an apartment in the 100 block of Birch Park Circle in West Springfield. His arrest stems from an incident back on April 12th when Springfield police responded to the 100 block of Belmont Avenue for a report of 2 gunshot victims. One of those victims was Olmo, who was transported to Bay State with serious injuries from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Upon investigation, Olmo is alleged to have accidentally shot himself and the female victim while attempting to sexually assault her. He's been charged with discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a building, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and assault to rape.